The snow fell like ash, silent and heavy, blanketing the world outside Jack Harper's garage. A German shepherd lay crumpled against the chain-link fence, his black and tan fur matted with blood and frost. His breath came in shallow, ragged puffs, each one a faint rebellion against death. The collar around his neck, scarred leather, etched with the word "run," glinted under the garage's flickering floodlight. Jack, hunched over a rusted carburetor, heard the thud of the dog's collapse, a sound that cut through the whine of the wind. He stepped into the cold, his boots crunching, and saw the dog's amber eyes, wide and unblinking, staring into nothing. They locked onto Jack's for a heartbeat, and something in their depths, a plea, a surrender, stirred the ash of his own buried grief. The garage was a cave of grease and steel, its walls lined with tools that hung like relics of a life Jack no longer lived. Outside, the industrial lot stretched desolate, its cracked asphalt swallowed by snowdrifts. The air smelled of oil and iron, sharp against the winter's bite. The dog's collar caught the floodlight's beam, the word "run" scratched deep, a command or a warning. Rune, as Jack would later name him, lay still, his ribs stark under scarred fur. Headlights flickered in the distance, slicing through the storm, too slow to be casual. Jack's pulse quickened. He knew the look of pursuit. Rune's ears twitched, a low growl rumbling in his throat as the lights lingered, then vanished. The snow kept falling, but it no longer felt like a shroud. It felt like a hunter's veil. Jack stood over the dog, his hands gripping the wrench until his knuckles whitened, the cold metal anchoring him to a world he'd long stopped feeling. Inside, his mind churned. Anna's laugh, sharp and gone, echoed in the silence. Tommy's shadow, always running, flickered in the dog's trembling frame. He was 47, but the weight of loss made him older, his heart a rusted engine that wouldn't turn over. Why this dog? Why now? He wanted to walk away, to leave the Creature 26 creature to die on a shelter's cold floor. But those amber eyes, haunted, hollow, like his own, held him fast. He'd failed Anna, failed Tommy, let their lives slip through his calloused fingers. Saving this dog felt like tempting fate, like daring the universe to break him again. Yet he couldn't move, his breath fogging in the icy air, betraying a flicker of something alive inside him. Jack's arms ached as he carried the dog inside, his boots leaving wet prints on the garage's concrete floor. The German shepherd was heavy, his scarred body limp, but his faint heartbeat pulsed against Jack's chest. As he set the dog near the heater, a shadow shifted beyond the floodlight's glare, too quick to be a trick of the snow. Rune's growl was low, a vibration through the floor, his ears pinned back, eyes fixed on the darkness. Jack squinted through the frosted window, catching a fresh tire track curving into the lot, its edges sharp despite the storm. His gut twisted. Someone was out there, watching, waiting. He locked the door, the click loud in the silence, and glanced at the collar again, the word "run" glinting like a warning. Whatever this dog had fled from, it wasn't done with him yet. Jack's hands, once quick in the ring, now trembled as he poured whiskey into a chipped mug, the amber liquid catching the garage's dim light. Years ago, he'd been a boxer, his fists carving a name in smoky arenas, Anna's cheers his only anchor. Her death, 3 years back, a car swerving on black ice, had gutted him, left him staring at hospital walls, her wedding ring cold in his palm. Then Tommy, his younger brother, the dreamer always chasing trouble, vanished after a fight Jack couldn't forgive. The guilt gnawed like rust. He'd pushed Tommy away, too proud to bridge the gap. Now, alone in this frost-bitten town, Jack fixed engines to outrun memory, but the dog's arrival stirred it all up again. A ghost in fur demanding he feel something. Jack's days bled into one another, a loop of oil stains and engine hums in the garage's shadowed belly. He woke at dawn, coffee bitter on his tongue, and worked until the world blurred. The radio droned old country songs, but he didn't hear them, just like he didn't see the mirror's reflection. Gray streaks, hollow eyes, a stranger's face. The garage was his fortress, its walls thick with silence, shielding him from the town's pitying glances. He drank to dull the ache, each sip a brick in the wall around his heart. Rune's presence, curled in the corner, was a crack in that wall, his soft breaths a rhythm Jack couldn't ignore, pulling him back to a life he'd sworn to forget. Rune's fur was a map of scars, each gash a story of survival etched into his black and tan hide. His left ear, torn at the tip, twitched at every creak of the garage, and his limp spoke of a leg broken and poorly healed. In the dim light, his amber eyes held a wariness born of betrayal. Handlers who'd chained him in a warehouse's stink of blood and sweat, forcing him into dogfights. The collar, its leather worn thin, bore "Run" like a cruel joke, carved by men who'd laughed as he bled. Flashbacks haunted his stillness, teeth snapping, crowds roaring, and a fleeting memory of a kind voice, Tommy's perhaps, before the chain tightened again. Rune had bolted one night, driven by instinct, collapsing here, his body a testament to pain, his heart a flicker of hope, refusing to die. Jack knelt by Rune, cleaning a cut with a rag, his hands steady despite the whiskey in his veins. The dog flinched but didn't pull away, their eyes meeting in a silent pact of brokenness. Both carried invisible chains, Jack's grief for Anna and Tommy, Rune's memories of cages and blows. When a truck rumbled past, they both stiffened, Jack's fingers tightening on the rag, Rune's ears flattening, as if the sound could drag them back to their pasts. Jack murmured, "We're not so different, are we?" And Rune's gaze softened, a spark of recognition. In the garage's quiet, their shared pain wove a fragile thread. Jack's gentle touch, Rune's hesitant stillness, each a mirror of the other's longing for something to hold on to, something to save them from the dark. The garage's heater hummed, casting a faint glow on Rune's matted fur as Jack traced the collar's microchip with his thumb. He scanned it with a borrowed reader, the screen flashing a name, property of Spokane Fight Club. His stomach churned. Dogfights, illegal and brutal, run in the town's underbelly. Outside, snow swirled, but headlights pierced the storm, slow and deliberate, circling the lot. Rune's growl was a low thunder, his scarred body tensing, eyes fixed on the door. Jack's breath caught as the lights lingered, engine idling like a predator's breath. A late-night call to a vet friend confirmed the chip's origin. A fighting ring, ruthless, connected. The headlights vanished, but the air grew heavier. The word "run" on Rune's collar. Now, a scream. Jack knew saving this dog meant stepping into a war. Jack's hands shook as he stared at Rune, the dog's amber eyes cutting through his haze. He could call animal control, let the shelter deal with it. Safer, cleaner, no strings. His mind screamed to stay numb, to keep the garage a tomb for his grief. Caring meant pain. It meant Anna's empty chair, Tommy's unanswered calls. What if he failed this dog too? But Rune's gaze held him, a silent plea beneath the scars, like a mirror to Jack's own buried hope. His logic battled compassion. Walk away, or risk everything. Then Rune shifted, a soft whine escaping, and something cracked in Jack's chest. A flicker of Anna's warmth, Tommy's defiance. He couldn't turn back now. The dog's eyes, raw and trusting, tipped the scale, pulling him toward a choice he wasn't ready to make. Jack's boots scuffed the concrete as he hauled a blanket from a storage crate, his hands trembling with purpose he hadn't felt in years. He couldn't call the shelter, not with those headlights still haunting the lot. He dragged an old cot to the garage's back room, a cramped space smelling of rust and motor oil, and laid the blanket down for Rune. The dog watched, ears twitching, body coiled like a spring, but he didn't growl. Jack grabbed a bowl, filled it with water, and bought a bag of kibble from the 24-hour gas station, his pulse racing as he scanned the empty road. Back in the garage, he set the food down, stepping back to give Rune space. The dog's eyes flickered with caution, but he limped forward, a silent vow forming in the air between them. Jack knelt a few feet from Rune, his voice low, steady, like he was coaxing a spark from dying embers. "You're safe now, boy," he said, the words foreign on his tongue. Rune's scarred muzzle dipped to the water bowl, lapping slowly, his eyes never leaving Jack's. The heater's hum filled the silence, warming the air just enough to soften the chill. Jack's chest tightened as Rune eased onto the blanket, his body still tense but no longer poised to flee. Outside, an engine rumbled faintly, too close, and Jack's hand instinctively grazed the wrench on his belt. He locked eyes with Rune, a promise sealing between them. No one would take this dog. Rune's tail gave a single hesitant twitch, and Jack felt the weight of their bond, fragile as frost, but real as the scars they shared. Rune lay in the garage's back room, his scarred body pressed against the wall, amber eyes tracking Jack's every move. The air smelled of oil and damp concrete, the heater's hum a faint comfort against the snow outside. Jack moved slowly, setting down a fresh bowl of kibble, but when he stepped too close, Rune's lip curled, a low growl rumbling like distant thunder. Jack froze, hands raised, his own heart a guarded fortress. He saw himself in the dog's wariness, both keeping the world at arm's length, afraid of what closeness might cost. "I won't hurt you," Jack murmured, his voice barely above the wind's moan. Rune's growl faded, but his stare held, sharp and unyielding, a silent demand for space. Jack backed off, sitting on an old crate, their mutual silence a fragile bridge over the chasm of their fears. Jack's fingers, rough from years of wrenches and fists, worked carefully as he cleaned a gash on Rune's flank with a damp cloth. The dog flinched, a sharp whine escaping, his eyes wide with the ghost of old pain. Jack's mind flickered to Anna's hospital bed, her hand cold in his, the memory a blade in his chest. He kept his touch light, whispering, "Easy, boy, easy," as much for himself as for Rune. The dog's trembling mirrored Jack's own, their pain a shared language spoken in glances and held breaths. Rune didn't eat it first, but when Jack slid the bowl closer, he nosed it, taking a single piece of kibble. The act felt like a truce, their wounds, visible and not, binding them in the garage's dim light, a quiet acknowledgement that neither was alone anymore. Jack tossed a rag across the garage floor, a half-hearted test, and Rune's tail gave a hesitant wag, his amber eyes softening for the first time. The motion stirred a memory. Tommy, years ago, laughing as he played fetch with a German shepherd in their old backyard, the dog's ears perked, its bark full of life. Jack's throat tightened. Could Rune be that dog, the one Tommy swore he'd never abandon? The thought cut deep, guilt over their last fight, flaring like a fresh bruise. Rune nudged the rag back, his movement slow, deliberate, no longer recoiling from Jack's presence. The garage's shadows seemed to lift, the air less heavy. Jack's hand hovered, then rested lightly on Rune's head, the dog pausing, accepting the touch. A quiet bridge between past promises and present hope. The rag skidded across the concrete, and Rune pounced, his limp forgotten in a burst of clumsy play. Jack's laugh cracked the silence, a rusty sound that startled him, echoing off the garage's walls like a stranger's voice. The heater glowed, casting a warm halo over Rune's scarred fur, the space no longer a tomb, but a fragile haven. Jack tossed a piece of kibble, and Rune caught it mid-air, his tail thumping softly. For the first time, the dog ate from Jack's hand, his muzzle brushing calloused fingers, a trust so tentative it felt like glass. Jack sat on the floor, Rune sprawling nearby, the hum of the heater blending with their steady breaths. Outside, the snow fell, but inside, the cold retreated, replaced by a warmth neither had known in years. The garage was dark, save for the heater's amber glow, when Rune stirred from his corner. Jack sat on a crate, nursing a whiskey, his thoughts heavy with Tommy's face, the brother he'd lost to silence. Rune's paws scraped softly as he limped closer, his scarred head lowering until it rested on Jack's knee, warm and heavy. Jack froze, the weight of the gesture cracking something inside him. Grief, guilt, hope, all spilling out. His hand trembled as he touched Rune's fur, the dog's amber eyes steady, unafraid. "You knew him, didn't you?" Jack whispered, voice breaking, tears tracing lines down his weathered face. Rune's tail gave a slow thump, a surrender to trust. A sharp knock rattled the door, shattering the moment, and Rune's ears pricked, his body tensing. Jack's hand stayed on him, a vow to face whatever came next together. Rune's growl cut through the garage's quiet, low and urgent, his ears pinned back as he stared at the door. Outside, the snow muffled all but the crunch of tires on gravel, a car idling too long in the lot. Jack's pulse quickened, his boxer's instincts flaring as he peered through the frosted window. A dark sedan lingered, its driver a shadow behind tinted glass, headlights slicing the night. Rune's hackles rose, his scarred body rigid, as if sensing a threat older than the storm. Jack's mind flashed to the caller's warning, "Run," and the microchip's grim revelation. The car's engine revved once, then faded, but the air grew thick with unease. Rune's amber eyes flicked to Jack, alert, watchful, his primal senses screaming what Jack could only feel. The past was coming for them. The garage door rattled under a heavy fist, and Rune's growl erupted into a snarl, teeth bared, his scarred body lunging toward the sound. Jack's heart slammed as he grabbed a wrench, stepping in front of Rune. The door creaked open, revealing a thug in a leather jacket, eyes cold as the snow outside, demanding the dog. Rune's hackles spiked, his amber gaze burning with a fury Jack knew too well. Memories of a blood-soaked ring, of handlers' boots, and betrayal. Jack's own rage surged, his mind flashing to Tommy's reckless grin, his brother lost to this same world. "He's not yours," Jack spat, voice low, fists clenched like in the old ring. Rune pressed against his leg, protective, defiant, their shared anger afire against the cold. The thug smirked but backed off, leaving a threat hanging heavier than the storm. The next night, a familiar voice cut through the garage's silence. Callahan, the retired officer, his polished boots clicking on the concrete. "That's my dog," he said, his smile sharp as a blade, claiming Rune with a nod. Jack's blood ran cold. He knew Callahan, Tommy's old friend, the man who'd pulled his brother into the fighting ring's shadows. Rune's snarl was primal, his body low, recognizing the voice that once chained him. Jack stepped forward, heart pounding, the wrench heavy in his hand. "You're done hurting him," he said, voice steady despite the storm in his chest. Callahan's eyes narrowed, his hand brushing a holster, the air thick with unspoken violence. Rune's growl vibrated through Jack. Their bond a shield against the past. But Callahan's parting words, "You'll regret this," promised a fight neither could escape. The garage was silent again, the echo of Callahan's boots fading into the snow outside. Jack slumped against the wall, his wrench clattering to the floor, regret clawing at him. Tommy's face, his brother's laugh, now tangled with Callahan's betrayal. Rune limped to his side, his scarred muzzle nudging Jack's hand, a quiet insistence that pulled him back from the edge. Their eyes met, Rune's amber gaze steady, a vow unspoken but ironclad. Jack's fingers curled into the dog's fur, grounding him. "We're in this now," he whispered, voice raw. He grabbed his phone, dialing Detective Morales, his words clipped but resolute. They'd expose the ring. Rune pressed closer, his warmth a promise of safety, sealing their bond against the shadows still lurking beyond the door. The town felt like a trap closing, its streets too quiet under the snow's weight. Jack and Morales planned to infiltrate a fight night, using Rune as bait to draw Callahan out. Rune's ears twitched at every sound, a creak, a distant engine, his growl low, sensing danger before Jack could. Late at night, shadows moved outside the garage, footsteps crunching faintly, too deliberate for chance. Jack's boxer instincts flared. He checked the locks, his hand brushing Rune's collar. The word "run," now a taunt. A glint of metal caught his eye, a knife left on the fence, deliberate, a warning. Rune's hackles rose, his body poised like a coiled spring, his amber eyes scanning the dark. The ring's enforcers were closing in, their presence a noose tightening around Jack and Rune's fragile sanctuary. The warehouse reeked of blood and sweat, its dim lights casting jagged shadows over the roaring crowd. Jack's heart pounded as he and Rune were shoved into the fighting ring's heart, Callahan's men circling like wolves. Rune's chain rattled, his scarred body tense, forced toward a snarling opponent, while Jack was pinned by two thugs, their grips bruising. Callahan leaned close, his voice a venomous hiss. "Tommy begged for you, Harper, before he died here." The words gutted Jack, his brother's death a fresh wound, tearing open old guilt. Rune's growl shook the air, his amber eyes locked on Jack, defiant. The crowd's cheers drowned out Morales' signal outside, and Jack knew time was slipping. Callahan's gun glinted, the threat now a blade at their throats, life or death hanging in the roar of the ring. Jack's fists clenched, his boxer's blood surging as he broke free, taking a blow to the jaw to shield Rune. The dog's chain snapped under his teeth, and he lunged, tackling Callahan's thug, his snarl a primal roar of loyalty. Jack staggered to Rune's side, fists swinging, each punch a defiance of Tommy's ghost, of Callahan's cruelty. Morales' whistle pierced the chaos. Cops stormed in, flashlights cutting through the dark. Jack grabbed Rune, pulling him from the ring as Callahan aimed, his shot grazing Jack's arm. Rune stood over him, teeth bared, protecting his only family. Callahan fell under Morales' cuffs, the ring collapsing in shouts and sirens. Jack and Rune collapsed together, bloodied but unbroken, their bond a fierce light in the warehouse's fading dark. The vet clinic's fluorescent hum was a soft pulse, the air sharp with antiseptic and snow-damp fur. Jack sat on a metal chair, his arm bandaged, the graze from Callahan's bullet a dull throb. Rune lay on a blanket, his scarred flank stitched, his breaths slow but steady, amber eyes half closed. Jack's fingers rested on the dog's head, tracing the torn ear, each touch a quiet anchor. The fight's chaos lingered, Tommy's death, Callahan's snarl, but here, in the clinic's hush, it faded to a distant echo. Jack's shoulders slumped, exhaustion carving lines deeper into his face, but Rune's warmth against his leg felt like a tether to life. The world outside was still, snow falling past the window, wrapping them in a fragile peace. Weeks passed. The garage no longer a tomb, but a home, its air softened by Rune's steady presence. Jack moved slower, his arms still sore, but he smiled when Rune followed him, tail thumping against the concrete. They shared quiet rituals, Rune eating from a bowl by Jack's workbench, their eyes meeting in wordless trust. Morales stopped by, her voice gentle, confirming the ring's collapse. Callahan behind bars, the dogs freed. Jack nodded, his hand resting on Rune's back, the dog leaning into him, scars fading under new fur. Each small act, Rune nudging a rag, Jack's low whistle, wove their healing tighter, a rhythm of recovery. The snow outside melted, revealing patches of earth, and Jack felt his heart, once rusted, begin to turn over, beating in time with Rune's. The snow had thawed, leaving the lot outside the garage a patchwork of mud and new grass. Jack walked slowly, Rune's collar, now blank, the word run, sanded away, glinting in the pale morning light. The dog trotted beside him, his limp softer, his amber eyes bright with something like peace. Jack's hand brushed Rune's head, a calloused finger tracing a scar, and Rune leaned into the touch, his steps matching Jack's, a rhythm of trust carved from pain. "Come on, boy," Jack said, voice steady, and Rune's ears perked, his name a beacon. They moved toward the horizon, where dawn broke in slivers of gold, the shadows of Tommy and Callahan lingering, but no longer heavy. Together they walked, side by side, reborn in the quiet of a world remade.